In this week's episode of Mobile Suit Gundam Iron-Blooded Orphans, Tekkedan has nearly reached their destination, and Mikazuki August has a mobile suit battle to the death with Karta Issue. I think it goes without saying that this week's mobile suit battle was without a doubt the highlight of this week's episode. This vengeance-filled scene brings to mind the original battle that Mikazuki had with Lieutenant Crank, except that this week he's going up against the very androgynous Karta Issue, a woman who is completely obsessed with getting her revenge against those who wronged her before. This week's episode was just damned awesome, guys. It's exactly what the Doctor ordered, and it's a fantastic build-up to the end of Iron-Blooded Orphans, and it's also showing that even at this point in the series, after the death of Biscuit, all of the things that they've gone through, Tekkedan is ready to see this through to the end, even if it means their very own deaths. All in the form of vengeance, my friends. So before we get to the mobile suit battle, let's talk about some of the other things that are going on in the series. First and foremost, everyone on the Tekkedan crew is ready to kick some ass. The person who does not see well with this is, of course, Miss Marybit herself, who is just looking out for the well-being of the children. Although we have to realize, these are not your typical kids. They've seen shit, they've done shit, and they're going to continue to mess shit up. And believe me, I can sympathize with Miss Marybit. I understand exactly where she's coming from. These guys are basically just fueled by pure and bloody vengeance. They just want to get revenge for the death of Biscuit, which in turn really isn't going to fix much of anything. In fact, it's probably going to make things worse, especially because things seem to be going according to plan to McGillis Farid. I had a feeling that he wanted Karta Issue to be killed, and he probably wants Gaelio to be killed as well. Basically, he wants to get these guys out of the way and basically turn them into martyrs for the reformation of Gallerhorn. Either that or he's just crazy and he likes putting on party wigs. We also get to see what's going on with Gaelio's boyfriend, Ein. Yeah, it looks like Ein is going to be doing some big reconstructive surgery, and I'm not sure, but I think it's been hinted at that he actually doesn't even have any arms or legs, and that his entire brand new Alaya Vijnana system is just directly hooked right up to his brand new mobile suit, which is some kind of Gundam frame variant that we haven't seen quite yet. But if you want to be spoiled by it, check out the preview for the next episode. It looks all types of badass! But let's talk about the real reason you should check out this week's episode of Iron-Blooded Orphans, which is that mobile suit battle at the very end, where suddenly as Tekkedan is traveling across this snowy landscape, they are stopped by 3 mobile suits, led by Karta Issue herself, who's demanding to have a 3-on-3 duel with Tekkedan. And, you know, they could easily just outnumber her, but no, Mikazuki immediately gets into the Gundam Barbatos and just immediately starts attacking, taking out 2 of the mobile suits in record time, and boy does he does it in such a brutal fashion. Oh my god, when he knocked that one guy off of his mobile suit, he didn't even get in his cockpit yet. You could see his wet, bloody body smacking against the snowy ground. That was so fucking intense. Not to mention when he took out that one guy who barely even got any damage in whatsoever, and then we finally got to the battle between Karta Issue and Mikazuki August. And you know what? It was freaking awesome. The amount of impact and extreme choreography in this episode just made this one of the most hard-hitting mobile suit battles that I've seen in a long time. And I love the Gundam Barbatos' brand new weapon, which is this giant pair of clamps, which also just happens to have a giant chainsaw inside of it, because who doesn't need a chainsaw in their giant clamp weapons? And when I say that Karta Issue got her ass kicked in this episode, I mean holy crap. Not only is she constantly knocked around, but pieces of her mobile suit are getting ripped to pieces by the Gundam Barbatos as he constantly plows into her and nearly drowns her in a lake, when suddenly Gaelio shows up in his brand new Gundam Kamaris, which has a lot of brand new upgrades to it. Its legs transform and allow it to, like, move across the landscape real quick. I can't wait to see more of this thing in action, and he seemingly saves Karta Issue. That is until suddenly she dies literally in his arms. This is the death of Karta Issue, and I have to admit, I kind of wanted it to be at the hands of Mikazuki August, but maybe that would have been a bad thing, considering how much of a psychopath he's actually kind of turned into. So what's the rundown on this week's episode of Mobile Suit Gundam Iron-Blooded Orphans? Revenge or no revenge? That is the question. This is one of those episodes where you kind of sympathize with the main characters, and at the same time, you also really pity them, because you don't want them to actually have to want to kill anybody. I mean, that's not something anybody wants for anyone, and that's been like one of the biggest messages of all Gundam, which is anti-war. However, Tekkedan right now is murder, murder, kill, kill. Every single one of them. Even the younger kids, they're ready to go into battle with mobile suits which don't even have the Alaya Vijnana system connected to them. They're that ready to go and die for their cause, and it really shows that they're not normal kids. They're very mature. They've seen a lot of crazy shit, and they're prepared for just about anything. And that is still one of the craziest things about Iron-Blooded Orphans, is that most of its cast consists of these really young kids who are going into battle. But just like the characters themselves, you actually start to see them more as adults, more so than kids, and a lot of that has to do with their actions and the way they carry themselves. And that is one of the biggest conflicts of the episode as well. When can children simply just be children? That's what Merrybit is so worried about. She doesn't want any of these young children to be exposed to this thing. She wants them to all go home, although, let's face it, according to Orga, they don't necessarily have a home anymore. They can't just go back to Mars and start another mission. No, they have to create their very own destination. They have to find their own answers. It's all vague and it's all ridiculous, but I'm sure it's all going to be answered in Season 2 of the show, because we're getting very close to the end of the second season. I'm not sure if the next week's episode is going to be the last one or the one right after that. All I know is shit is going to get real, because obviously we're going to see a brand new Gundam, which is going to be piloted by Ein, which looks all sorts of badass. It's basically like this black Gundam with these two black swords. Oh, it's so cool. I will say this though, Carta Issue had some pretty big balls for wanting to go up against Tekkadan, especially with only 3 mobile suits. She was completely outnumbered. I mean, if Akihiro and Shino and the other girls from the Turban crew would have actually joined in, the massacre would have been even worse. But still, Mikazuki just completely owned it in this episode. He was, in many ways, terrifying, especially when he immediately just got into battle before the other pilots could even get into their cockpits. It was really intense, especially how he battled, how he would kick up snow so they couldn't see anything, so they could then just sort of pick them apart at his leisure. He's a really ruthless mobile suit pilot, one of the most ruthless main characters I've ever seen from just about any Gundam anime. He's the exact opposite of Amuro Ray, and frankly, it's kind of refreshing. One of my favorite things about the episode, though, is how clear it is that McGillis is just playing all of these sides, basically making them kill each other so he can start his own plan. I have a feeling he doesn't really have any real faith in Tekkadan, especially with his whole Montag thing, which he hasn't gotten back to in a couple of episodes. Basically now he's been playing the Galahorn side of things, basically trying to take them down from the inside. I don't know if this is going to end up leading to Lord Isnario or not, but it almost certainly is. I really can't wait to learn a little bit more about him. He's a surprisingly complex villain, and I can't wait to see how his story is going to play out. It's probably not going to pick up, though, until the next season. I have a feeling that this season is going to end in a lot of heartbreak, and possibly even another big character death, whether it be from Akihiro, Shino, or maybe even Orga and Mikazuki. All I know is I'm really getting ready for this big, exciting finale. So this was a great episode right here. It's definitely what the Doctor ordered. It had some fantastic mobile suit action. Those who've been waiting to see the big battle between Carta Issue and Mikazuki August, here it is for you. It's freaking awesome. It looks great, and it has a definite conclusion. So, fantastic episode right here with some great animation, some great artwork, fantastic voice acting, really good themes in the episode as well, making this one of the more distinct of the Gundam anime franchise. So I'm going to give this week's episode right here a 5 out of 5. Check it out, Gundam fans. You might see something you like. But if you did watch this week's episode, why don't you tell me what you thought about it in the comment section below. What did you think of the battle between Mikazuki and Carta Issue? And what do you want to see from the conclusion of the first season of Mobile Suit Gundam Iron-Blooded Orphans? Please tell me in the comment section below. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to like it, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. Thank you guys again for watching, and as always, stay dandy, baby.